Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Great to have you back. And of course, the conversations continue this morning. We just wrapped up a conversation with Chief Dele Momodu. And of course, it's on Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary. Now, let's go through the newspapers this morning and see if the conversations there are different. We're going to be starting this morning on the Daily Independent. It says Naira value drops 161,266% in 50 years. Analysts seek concerted efforts to stop further depreciation. And also, President Tinubu orders 35,000 Naira provisional wage award for workers. Labour federal government continue meeting today. There's also, of course, I think I saw a letter by the NLC asking for a meeting today amongst their heads, of the group. So, of course, it maybe will be deciding if they're going ahead with the strike, the proposed strike, or not. The president, of course, declaring 25,000 Naira increment for a certain group of workers in Nigeria. Not everybody. 25,000 Naira, but it's just for 6 months. It's not a permanent thing. It's just for 6 months. And it's not for everybody once again. How will this change anything? What will 25,000 Naira additional salary do for anybody? Some of the things that, we'll be talking about this morning, I believe. And also, an additional 10,000 Naira came in yesterday, I believe, after deliberations with the NLC and the TUC. And that's what we're talking about with the 35,000 Naira provisional wage award for workers. Also, 59 burned to death, a sad story, after a tanker explosion on Sapele Benin Road. BOA cuts price of cement to 3,500 Naira per bag. On page 6, and also Serap sues governors over failure to account for 72 billion Naira subsidy palliative. Nigeria at 63, Pandef, Middle Belt Forum, Ohaneze, reiterate call for restructuring. And at the bottom of the screen, the insecurity, decayed infrastructure, rising debt, dog Nigeria at 63. Two other stories, U.S. court orders release of Tinubu's records, rejects objection. And Ebonyi Airport, condemnation trails 13 billion Naira runway repair 5 months after commissioning. And these, listen, the Daily Independent has very, very, very important stories. Starting with the Ebonyi story, it's said that the airport initially cost about 39 billion, I believe. I hope I'm not getting that figure wrong. But that airport, was built, 36 billion, yes. And it was commissioned, less than a year ago. Now, first of all, when the airport was being proposed and being built by the current Minister for Works, David Mahi, who was governor at that time, it did come with a lot of criticism because people were asking, why does Ebonyi State need an airport? Of what use is an airport in Ebonyi? Of all the
How many
things
people
that
make trips
36,
in and out
exactly.
of Ebonyi?
Of all the things that 36 billion Naira would do for Ebonyi State at this time, why is it being invested in an airport of all things? Enugu State has an airport, and so if you're going to be flying out of the southeast, Enugu State is just 35 to 40 minutes away from Ebonyi. Worst case scenario is a 45-minute drive from Ebonyi. So why does Ebonyi need to build its own airport? Port Harcourt also has an airport, if you want to go that far. Imo State has its own airport also. So it's not like there was a scarcity of airports in the southeastern part of the country. But when those questions were raised, people then turned it into a, you don't like Ebonyi people. You are trying to, derive or deny Ebonyi State and Ebonyi people their own airport. But now the airport has been concluded less than a year after 13 billion Naira is being spent to fix the runway of the same airport that was just built. The governor currently, of course, is building projects on the federal level now. So we'll see if they would be building and repairing 5 months after on the federal level also. U.S. court orders release of Tinubu's records, rejects objection. Chief Dele Momodu spoke a little bit about this and said, of course, it is a failure of the Tinubu group, all these years to have managed this situation properly. But it's also important, and this would, nobody knows exactly what are in these records, but it would be very, very telling, if some of the fears that, people have stated eventually turn out to be true. There's a part where, of course, it would be very, very much of a disgrace internationally and, of course, here in Nigeria. But it also really is an opportunity for Nigerians to see exactly if these rumors are true. The rumors about the foundation of President Tinubu, The rumors about his name, rumors about his, upbringing, the fact, where it's been so difficult to get anybody to say that we went to school with, this, Nigerian president in, in the 60s or in the 70s or in the 80s. We were classmates at some point. There's still nobody who's been able to come out to say that. What exactly does Chicago State have in their records that is different from what the president has
exactly
in his own records?
The release of these records affects the credibility. How will it affect him? What damage would it do to him? It's just like someone trying to find out if I graduated from university or if I went to law school, and I'm vehemently opposing it. To what end?
Oh, well.
Like, what are they going to find out?
We'll see.
That I'm afraid of.
Yeah. And also Sarah suing the governors over failure to account for 72 billion naira subsidy palliative. There's an argument that, yes, if we audit Nigeria properly, the amount of money that we would find that has been missing would be the most, it will be a world record. But anyway, let's move away from the Daily Independent, see what's on the Guardian newspapers this morning.
All right, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, which is our second paper for the morning, the big stories that we're going to be looking at, of course, are revolving around federal government dangling 35,000 naira wage top-up, others as Labour revisits decision. Labour, of course, had threatened to go on a strike, and the federal government is calling for a closed-door meeting where, this might, of course, alter the decision to go on the strike. So they may or may not, but for now, we're just going to have to wait to see what happens. Nigeria at 63, mixed reactions trail Tinubu's anniversary post-subsidy measures. It trails Tinubu's anniversary speech, post-subsidy measures as well. We, of course, did have Chief Dele Momodu react to some of that as well. BB Niger crown goes to Lokoja as Ilebaye bags 120 million naira grand prize. Did you watch the finale? Did you see the clips?
No, not really. I didn't.
So they asked her, if you win tonight, so after tonight, what's next for you? She said, to build my empire. And they asked her, what is this empire? She said, Gen Z body.
I'm happy for her, though. I did want her to win.
Congratulations.
From a distance, I did want her to win.
Yeah, I know that you wanted her to win. But it was very interesting. I think that if you're going to go to a reality show, at the very least, please have a plan so that...
She's young.
Well,
and that's why they call her Gen Z body. She's not. She's obviously not been able to figure out a lot,
about
of her life.
I hope that she has good people in her corner to help her with the management
Hopefully.
of her resources. 120 million is a lot of money, but it can live in the same way that it came.
Hopefully.
We've seen many reality show winners, back to square one, and I hope and pray that will not be what will happen to her.
Very
But
true.
We've seen a number of them go back to square one because it's no talent. Yeah. There's nothing to do their money, no investment, no business, and all that.
But just also mention, that you don't have to win it to become, a superstar.
She doesn't have to be a superstar, but at least.
No, I'm saying you don't have to be the one who won the show. There are people who came out second and third in other episodes.
Oh, yes.
The
Bisolas.
Way bigger than the person who won it.
The Toby Bakaris.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
I just didn't think, in my opinion, I don't think anybody in particular deserved to win it this year. They didn't do anything there that made anybody there deserve.
The argument would be that a number of Nigerians gave her pity votes because of what Ike did, and Ike says that he deliberately did that.
Bring it on.
To ensure that Messi did not win. Well, this is not a Big Brother Good Morning, Big Brother Breakfast Central show. Casualization, concerns over exploitation and high demand for cheap labor on page 4. It's a news analysis. My husband, not magician, says Oluremi as Adeleke and others exhort Nigerians. Well, we really need him to be a magician at this point. Justice Minister distances federal government from 50 billion naira plea bargain with Emefiele. Well, we'll know what the details of that story is shortly, but that's what we can take on the Guardian. Let's just quickly chip in our next paper and see what the headlines on that paper are saying.
All right, Daily Trust newspapers up next. Labour presses on to decide on strike today. Do Nigerians expect that Nigerian Labour Congress will actually go on strike?
Nope.
No. If we're being honest, they have called for a meeting. Will it be the same way the previous meetings have always ended with deciding to suspend the strike because the government has agreed to certain terms that never eventually to a large extent benefit Nigerians? That's very likely what people are expecting to happen today, that they've had some agreements and will move on. Tinubu Shatima, governors mark 63rd independence anniversary, and just wanted to also mention that that's the reason why the NLC, whenever it decides to take, these protests or these steps, doesn't have the backing of, millions of Nigerians who they are supposedly speaking for. Also this morning, Tanker explosion rather kills 8, injures 7 in Delta. Girl child education. Kano pays 20,000 naira stipend to 45,000 girls. First Lady Oluremi Tinubu and, of course, Chairman, there's a picture there. Okay, well, not a very relevant story. Mixed reactions trailed Tinubu's Independence Day anniversary speech. Many described it as uninspiring. But these are the big stories on the daily trust newspapers, of course. I think the most important one, there's a story on labor pressing on and, of course, trying to decide whether there would be a strike today or not.
Let's just quickly punch you with the punch as quickly as possible. Federal government okays allowance for senior staff. Labor may suspend strike. At the top of the paper, Chicago academic record. Tinubu lawyers kick as court orders release. Federal government issues first wholesale gas supply license under PIA. Devaluation. Government banks make 2.2 trillion naira. Manufacturers lose 495 billion naira. Of course, business people are the ones who are suffering. Independence Day, APC berates PDP as opposition faults Tinubu's speech. 1 dies, 7 injured in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway crash. That's sad. No plea bargain agreement with Emefiele, says the AGM.